Hello and welcome to Hall of Fame Huddle live broadcast. This is week number 8, and we're finishing up 2 straight months of this broadcast. I think as of week 2, it was the longest running, but we're now 8 weeks strong. We've talked to a lot of great coaches. We've discussed several different areas of the state, and today we're actually going to be talking about a couple other areas of the state that we haven't touched yet, Cincinnati and the Ohio River Valley over by the east side of Ohio. And then we're going to get some other stuff in tonight. But first, let's go down to Cincinnati, and we have Coach Cassie. Cassie, I'm not even going to try to say your last name because I'm going to probably blow it. How are you today, Cassie?
I'm doing good, Rich. How are you?
Not bad. We've kind of known each other for the last couple of years and mostly from a distance, but when we've seen each other, we've chatted, and I knew a long time ago that you're a rising star in the college world, even before while you were in high school and coaching AAU. So congratulations on the new job at Wilmington.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. It's been a fun ride so far.
Tell us a little bit about that transition and how that whole thing transpired for you.
Yeah, so kind of a funny story. I was at Mercy McCauley High School previously for the past 2 years, which is down in Cincinnati. I felt like a need for a change, and we were in a good kind of spot where we were at with the school and everything, but I felt like I was prepared. And I always knew I wanted to get back to coaching college basketball. Mm-hmm. And people thought I was really crazy because the pandemic hit and I resigned from my position in June. So people were like, why are you resigning in the middle of the pandemic with nothing lined up? But I had that feeling like I knew something good was going to happen from it. Like I needed to take a chance. And I know when people have asked me, I've always said I started reading when the pandemic hit. And one book that I really loved and got really into was In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day by Mark Batterson. And one of the chapters is about taking risks. And they said, basically, if you want a God-sized opportunity, you got to take a God-sized risk. And I don't think there was any more bigger risk than resigning with no job. And I was training a little bit with one of my former players who's at BG. I was still involved in some basketball stuff. I was learning. I was attending clinics and everything, just posting my experience as well. And then I found out that Coach Sheevy was taking a leave of absence for the year just because of the pandemic and everything. Mm-hmm. And that Janelle Blankespoor, who was the top assistant, became the interim head coach for this season. And she found me on Twitter. When I tell other coaches, like, social media, it's a good thing. I mean, there's some negatives to it, but it's a blessing also. Like, she did a deep dive on me on Twitter and, asked me if I wanted to be basically a call for an interview, and then got a second interview on campus, and here I am. So I got my opportunity found through social media.
That is definitely a great use of social media. Like you said, sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can be bad. In the last year, a lot of times it's been a little frustrating to be on, but it's a necessary evil. You also started your coaching career this past weekend at your alma mater at Ohio Northern. How was that for you?
It was weird stepping back on the court when we pulled up on campus. I mean, it's been a year. I went back a little over a year ago for alumni game. But yeah, just being able to be on the other sideline and then looking up at the scoreboard and realizing like you're the opponent, you're not the home team. Mm-hmm. There were some changes too within the building, like they've done repainting and everything. So it was kind of a walk down memory lane, but it was a little, just like I said, it was a little ironic to be full circle to where I got to be back where it all started for me and actually coach against the place where it all began. So, I mean, it was exciting, and we got the W the first night, and we ended up falling the second night by 1. So, yeah, I mean, ONU's always been a tough opponent.
What was it like coaching against your former coach, or at least your former assistant coach, Mark?
It was fun. I mean, I didn't talk too much trash. I kept saying that to other people. I was going to like talk trash to Mark and everything, but I didn't. But to be able to see him on the sideline as a head coach was awesome because when he came my junior year, I mean, he taught me and showed me how to be a great assistant. He was a blessing for our program. So when he got the opportunity to be the head coach, I mean, couldn't be more of a perfect fit. So I was so excited to actually see him at the helm of that program. And finally get his opportunity to be in charge. But yeah, I didn't talk too much trash and everything like that. We split, so we're even now. But no, he's a great guy, and I was so excited for him.
He is a great dude. My experience with him have been phenomenal. I'm really happy that he's getting an opportunity to be a head coach, particularly at a school in Ohio still. So. Let's take a step back real quick. When you were at Mercy McCully for a couple of years, and you guys had some pretty solid teams, you sent some kids to college. The Tudor kid went to Radford, and obviously the guard that went to Bowling Green. Well, I can't think of her name off the top of my head.
Fleming.
Fleming, that's right. And then a couple others. What was that experience like for you? And what was it like coaching for Nick Baltimore? And
the experience itself was awesome, and I don't know if many people know this. I went to M&D for high school, so when Nick asked me to join him for Mercy McCully, I was like a no-brainer when I left Purcell, because I got to be back in the GGCL where I played in high school, so I thought that was awesome. But the first year we were there, it was I thought it'd be a little iffy because, again, the merge, and you're merging two different playing styles and cultures, and you had a lot of upperclassmen. I thought it was going to be sticky at times, and to see the maturity of this group, even though I didn't know them very well, and, Nick and Drew knew most of them because of the Swish and AAU connections and everything like that. So when I got there, I was like, okay, how do I build trust and relationship with these girls that they don't know me? I'm coming from Purcell Marion, which most people didn't know either. But, being able to coach those type of kids, like Fleming made me a better coach. I trained her in the summer. Like, she's the one that got me into player development. Like, that kid's work ethic was off the charts. Mm-hmm. She challenged you as a coach to be better. She challenged you to teach the game differently. And then even kids like Alex Smith, who's at Valdosta now, you said Tudor, who's at Radford. We had one girl who went to Thomas More, but she ended up not playing that season. Those kids were great. And being able to coach for Nick Baltimore, he's a good guy. He's very loyal. He gave me an opportunity to grow and be able to be a head JV coach, and I got to run my team a little bit and be in charge of that. So, he taught me some ways. He still has his flaws like we all do, but I mean, the guy's great. And for him to be able to start his family now and everything like that, like, Nick's top notch.
Nick does not have any flaws. I can personally attest to that. He is a great dude. My experience with him has been tremendous. And like you said, he's a great guy on top of being a great coach. So you spent many years down in Cincinnati. You played in Cincinnati. You coached in Cincinnati. Wilmington's not too far from Cincinnati. Probably most people would consider it Cincinnati. Tell me, I mean, we know that Cincinnati, Mount Notre Dame, your alma mater, might be the best team in the state. Give me some other teams. Talk about them a little bit first, and then give me some of the other teams down that area that are top notch.
Yeah, so the public school system's always been – so Mason's always been, I think, in my opinion, a great program in school. I went to Mason from kindergarten to 8th grade before I went to M&D. So, I was always familiar with the feeder system, and they always have a great middle school program, junior high, that leads to high school. So, they already have kids that are being developed to when they get to there. Walnut Hill started taking off. It was always funny because I don't know when the change happened, but when I was at M&D, like, we played Lakota West in the state championship my freshman year. Mm-hmm. And now, when I was at Mercy McCully and everything, you're battling other Cincinnati teams to even try to make it to districts and regionals. Like, it is so hard to get out in that state tournament, because we ended up playing Kettering Fairmont last year in the regionals, who's another great squad. I know they lost a lot of key players from last year, but what they have building there is awesome. We played Huber Heights Wayne in the districts. So, we were battling a lot of different teams, but from the Cincinnati area, you got your Lakota West school. Lakota East, I think, is building a great program as well. They're being competitive. Loveland's always had a great system. What Darnell has there and what the culture he's built, I mean, they've been having a lot of success so far this season. Sycamore's kind of taken off. Trying to think, for you think Division III, I mean, where I was at previously, Purcell Marion, what Jamar has down there, I mean, they're, I think, still undefeated in the GCL Co-Ed, and they're the only Division III team in that league. Like, they're playing other D2 schools.
Yeah.
Roger Bacon's solid. You
Jamar,
just have
Jamar is a guy that I was told that I have to get on the broadcast at some point. So he doesn't know this yet, but he's on my short list of people from Cincinnati to talk to. He clearly is running a great program down there.
Oh yeah, you have to definitely have him on board. When I got into coaching, that was my first high school experience coaching, and he showed me how to really show your enthusiasm. Like I was debating on, because you hear a lot of people say you have to coach this way, or that's not really the right way, or you shouldn't show this too much and this what blah blah blah. He was himself, like on the sideline, like he was this energetic, enthusiastic, like you could tell he was so passionate about the game. Mm-hmm. And it made me comfortable about myself as well. Because I mean, now I wear my enthusiasm on my sleeve. Like I'm fist pumping, I'm stomping, I've done a Kim Mulkey floor slap when I was a head JV coach. So I mean, I'm showing my cards as well. But the discipline he set within that program though too, his first year, because he came from the boys side, so he was a varsity assistant for the boys before he became the head varsity girls coach. And that's when I got hired, and like his vision and just the discipline he wanted to set within this program was top notch. Like that was the one reason why I wanted to be on board with him. Like he had the basketball knowledge and everything like that, but the bigger picture for him was, the discipline he was going to set with these young women for them to further on once they graduated. And, I think they just saw posts, like they had a team GPA of 3.75, like the way he gets on these players about their academics, their classes, community service. I mean, the way he's built that program, there's no wonder I wouldn't be surprised if they make it to regionals or even state, because they've been this close.
Well, let me ask you about Purcell Marion specifically. It seems like they are and being completely transparent, I don't know one thing about them. So it seemed like last year they had a great team, and maybe even the year before, and they just couldn't. It was hard for them to crack like the top 10 or get any kind of recognition. And then this year, I know you said they're undefeated still. Why do you think it's so hard for a team like that? Is it because maybe they're overshadowed by the Masons and the Lakota Wests and the Miller Dames? And, why is it so hard for them to get any kind of recognition?
I think you said it perfectly. I think sometimes you get the high D1, sometimes the D2 type schools that get a lot of the publicity and everything like that. And for a small Division III school in, Cincinnati area, you got to really basically promote yourself and try to get, other people to see what you're doing and what you're building. And, they have my first year was the only year they've won the league title. That was the very first year they won the GCO Co-Ed league title in girls basketball history. And, they came close the year before and even the year after. But, you said it perfectly, because I was surprised not a lot of people knew about the runnings that they had in the tournament, like how deep they were going and just the style they play too. I mean, the style they play is fast, aggressive, scrappy. There's no real like fanciness to it. Like it's grit. And what not a lot of teams see. So, you do when you're in the Cincinnati area, you have so many different schools, and it's a lot of your bigger D1 schools that are very well known that kind of overshadow the smaller schools who, are still having really great success and who have top-notch players.
I know one thing, they follow me on Twitter, so I do see some stuff from them, but I know that their color combination is amazing. I love their colors, and their uniforms are pretty sharp. So they definitely got that going for them, even for somebody who don't know much about them.
Remind you of the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Exactly. I was going to say that, but I couldn't visualize them in my head at the moment. But I do remember their colors are pretty sweet. So that it does remind me of the Cavs a little bit. Give us. Are there any small, like even Division IV schools down there that maybe people should know a little bit about? I
In
know
the
it's
Cincinnati area,
go through either Minster or Fort Laramie every year for a tournament, but
yeah, you got a few of those. I follow Georgetown a little bit. Because I had a kid who played AAU for me, Tori Utter, who just scored her 1,000th point. Some of the other smaller schools who, you have your East Clintons and everything like that, who I think are being pretty solid. I'm trying to think of who I've seen so far. Cincinnati area, you don't hear a lot with the D4s. Specifically, it's a lot of your bigger D1s, D2s.
Yeah, it's a bigger area, so there's probably not a ton of D4s anyway. But as far as the D1s go, there's a ton of powerhouses, and without the rankings coming out yet or the tournament seed, who do you think is maybe the top 4 teams down in that area that may be battling it out in regionals to go to state semifinal 4?
Definitely M&D, and I'm not saying that because my alma mater or anything like that, because when I was at Mercer McCauley, M&D was our rival. But yeah. M&D's a powerhouse. They still got a lot of solid players that are returning, so I definitely my top choice.
Well, didn't Nick come from M&D too?
Yeah, Nick came from M&D. He was the head JV coach. So
I thought so.
Yeah, we had a little M&D connection there, which I thought was pretty cool too. I'm like, it's a small world. I wouldn't see.
Selfishly, I would love to see a MND Newark game, whether it would be a makeup, just a add-on game the rest of the season. I certainly I'm not hoping any other teams don't win, but if we could get an MND Newark matchup in the state Final Four, that would be pretty awesome. I know Newark just lost their last game, but it was literally to the number 1 team in Indiana, and they somehow dropped all the way to 4 or 5 in the state rankings. But so we got MND. Who else are we looking at? Top 4.
Wouldn't sleep on Loveland. I definitely have Loveland in one of my top 4. I think they are ran right. They got some good players. They have a girl that's committed to Division I. They had a few transfers from other public schools. So I think Loveland's got a pretty solid squad with their 2 or 3 seniors, I think, that are leading them, and then a couple underclassmen who are fairly solid. Mason would be in there. I think Mason's
Loveland is Division I?
Huh?
Loveland is Division I?
They are. We actually, so last year we played them at their place for Mercer McCauley because we always split because they were at our place. They actually lost to M&D in the district finals. Their game was after our game, and Loveland actually had, I think, an 8 or 10 point lead going, I think, into halftime on M&D, and then M&D kind of just ran with it a little bit. But now Loveland held their own against M&D last year. Now they lost Hayes, who's in Cincinnati, who's at University of Cincinnati right now.
Mm-hmm.
They also lost their one shooter, Gary, who's at Akron. Playing. So they lost a couple key players, but they still returned. They got a player that's committed to Kent State. Another solid point guard who is more of a floor general, and then they brought in a few transfers. One transfer from Wyoming High School and another from Sycamore. So they got a good underclassmen squad too. So I think they'll be pretty solid in the tournament. Mason definitely, because Mason's Mason. Rob Matula runs his program great, and they got they have the one underclassman who's really good, who got offers from Princeton and everything like that from some Ivy League schools.
I didn't know that the Oldacker kid from Princeton transferred to Mason. I didn't find that out until I was talking to the coach from Huber Heights, and that is a huge transfer. I mean, figuratively and literally.
Yeah, they picked up a solid center and post player for them. Mason didn't have much height last year, so that's a key addition for them.
Mm-hmm.
Princeton lost that height, but Princeton's still got the quickness in them and the scrappiness, but I'd still have M&D, Loveland, Mason. I might throw Princeton in there, to be honest, though, because they have their returners from upperclassmen who are great shooters. The Rochelle girl, I think, can play. They have a couple other guards who are pretty quick that can handle the ball. And Princeton's always been scrappy. We barely beat them last year when I was at Mercer McCauley. I think it was like our third or fourth game. It was literally, I think, right after we lost to Walnut Hills. We got to go to Princeton and compete with them. So those might be my top four. I probably have M&D, Loveland, Mason.
Now you got to keep in mind that some of those Dayton teams are headed down too.
Oh yeah, Dayton.
I mean, Huber Heights is probably the creme de la creme of Dayton. After that, I don't even know who would be Springboro, maybe.
Springboro's solid.
So you're getting all those power teams in the 4 different districts, and they got to fight it out. And then you have, usually when you get the regionals, those 4 teams are all top 10 teams in the state or close.
Oh yeah, that's how it was. So like I said, my first year at Mercer McCauley, we had to beat Mason in the district finals, and then we had to turn around and play M&D in the regional semis. And then last year we ended up beating Wayne on a buzzer beater 3 in the districts to go ahead and play Kettering Fairmont in the regional semis.
There's no other region that gets that kind of competition. I'm not even going to lie. Maybe Central Ohio, but you don't really have that kind of competition in the districts. You get it maybe in the regionals when Reynoldsburg, Newark, Pick Central are all really good, and then maybe again Lincoln's really good. But even up here in Northeast Ohio, you don't get teams that 4 teams that can win a state title in the same region. That's just not common, and unfortunately for your teams down in Cincinnati, that's the case.
Yeah, you looked at last year's tournament within our district and everything like that. Like, we had teams where I think those 4 could have been in the Final Four for state. Even Springboro had to play Lakota West and ended up being Lakota West in the district finals. But like our district finals, it was Springboro and Lakota West, us versus Wayne, Kettering versus Walnut, and M&D versus Loveland. So, you had 6 solid squads, and then only 4 could walk away. And then all of a sudden you're playing, M&D's playing Springboro in the regional semis, and we're playing Kettering Fairmont. And then all of a sudden Kettering Fairmont and M&D are playing in the regional finals. I attended that game, and I was like, wow. Like, you're talking about 2 Final Four teams right here, and only one can move on.
There's some districts down there, and this is the honest God's truth. There's some districts down there that the top 4 teams could be in the regionals in Northern Ohio, and that's in a district. So it's always fun to watch down that way. Let's move on to some players. I know that you definitely have your eye as a recruiter for Wilmington. You're definitely watching some games from that aspect. But I know you're just a big fan of basketball too, and you have a lot of kids in that area, whether it's through AAU or coaching high school that you want to keep an eye on. Give us some players. Maybe 4 or 5 top players down there that people in other parts of Ohio should know.
So I know everyone knows the M&D, so I'm not even going to take some of the Division I because people already know them.
Yeah, give us some kids that that's how I always roll. I don't piggyback on the D1 kids. So some that we may not know.
So Loveland's point guard. She's not playing basketball in college, but she played for me for AAU. Tess Browerman. She's a senior. Very solid guard overall, like a good floor general. She does all the fundamental things right. She knows how to find her teammates down the floor. She's got a good shot and everything like that. But like I said, she's just solid fundamentally, and she's your second coach for you on the program, which is why I think Loveland and Darnell have a good solid squad for this year because they still have her.
Mm-hmm.
I'll even go with my Purcell Marion family. Again, Kara King has gotten some looks. She's developed her game, I think, a lot better. I think she used to not have a really consistent 3-point shot, and now it's there. But her move from New Richmond to Purcell, I think, was a great one for her. She found a competitive team to play for. She found a good, solid fit for her, who she was and the style she wanted to play. Like I said, she's been getting some looks, and she was a great piece for us on our AAU organization. Never had to question her work ethic or anything like that. So, another solid small guard type forward. She can post up to on the inside, but she doesn't have the complete size built. My Georgetown kid, like I said, Tori Utter is she's a workaholic. She comes from a good family too, who's about the little things. And when I first coached her in AAU, I'm hearing about stories of how she's waking up at like 6 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning to walk the pigs and everything on the farm. And you got some kids who are like, that work ethic's never like theirs. Like mom and dad wake them up and everything like that. This kid's like, nah, this is the routine. She'd do that, go to school, go to attend class for 8 hours, go to basketball practice, and then she's coming home and she's still doing work on the farm. But, she's getting some good looks as well. And, again, another kid you don't have to question work ethic for. She was a solid point guard for us for AAU. Let's think of another. I'm trying to think of more smaller school because, like you said, I don't like piggyback on big schools. Who else?
Give us one more. Make sure it's good.
I know. I had one on the top of my head. Give me a second.
I'll tell you what, I don't think any kid that can get out of bed that early in the morning and do farm work is much tougher than I am. I'm not even going to lie to kick it. There's no way I could get out of bed at 5 a.m.
No, I can't. I mean, shoot, when we had 7:15, like lifting earlier in the fall, I was like, I had to go to bed early because I'm like, I know because it takes me 40 minutes to get to Wilmington. So I'm like, I know I need my sleep and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, another one of my Purcell Marion kids, Jamani Jones. If anyone has saw her play on varsity for Purcell Marion from her freshman year to now, like her jump in her game, I believe she played for Cincinnati's Finest, if I'm not mistaken, because I know we played each other this past like summer in Indiana. Because I thought it was funny that I got to coach against her, even though I coached her when I was at Purcell. Her jump from her freshman year to now as a senior is, complete 360 in her game. Still has some stuff to improve on, but she's become a more vocal leader. She was never very talkative. Now she's kind of commanding. She wants people to be held accountable. Her shot's gotten better. Her ball handling skills have gotten better tremendously, but she was always like that defensive-minded player. Like she played a lot her freshman year for us because she could play defense.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like the scrappiness, reaching all this time. Like she could move her feet, show her hands. She wasn't like a Lexi Fleming type defender, but she was getting close to there of how she moved her feet and the angle she took. So just to see her expand her game offensively from where she was as a freshman to now, she's one of the other key pieces of that Purcell Marion program, in my opinion.
Well, Cassie, I appreciate your time. How can people give out your Twitter handle just for anybody who wants to give you a follow? I can personally vouch that it's a great follow, and you'll learn a lot about basketball, and we'll see some of those high energy clips from your Twitter feed every once in a while. Where can people find you?
Oh yeah, so my Twitter is @CoachCass_. I took the IE out of my name because I thought I always get called by Cass. I never get called by Cassie, so it's always been Coach Cass. And Lastifka's too long, so I never go by Lastifka. So it's @CoachCass_.
Too hard to pronounce.
Oh yeah.
So @CoachCass_.
Yep.
All righty. Well, again, I want to thank you for your time, and we might be checking in with you at some point to see how things are going later on in the spring.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Rich.
All right, Coach. Have a good night.
Thanks. You too.
Bye. All righty. What a great interview. Cassie's I have said a long time that she will not be in the coaching rankings of high school. Oh, I think something happened. Better get somebody on here to see if they can hear me.
Oh, God.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but I unplugged. So no recording now. So we can't repost it somewhere else. So we have Mackenzie Mason and Abby Dobbins. You guys have some things you got going on, and we're going to talk about that. But let's talk about your experience at Bethany first. I know Mackenzie's a freshman. Abby, you're going to have to excuse me because I know that you were at my events before, but are you a freshman or a sophomore?
I'm a sophomore.
I mean, I lose track of time. So tell me a little bit about Bethany so far and you know, where you guys, I know you just started a couple days ago on playing games. Tell me how your freshman year is going for you guys so far.
It's going pretty good. I mean, we're 1-0 in the pack, so that's always a good thing. Definitely different than past years, as I've heard from Abby and other teammates, but we're definitely playing faster this year and really focusing on defense, so that's nice.
Yeah, and our team dynamic this year, Coach has done a really good job of making sure that our upperclassmen and our freshmen really have a good and strong bond on and off the court, and it's really showing these last couple of weeks.
Did you ever think that Brian was going to have a longer beard than I do?
No.
I couldn't believe that dude, man. I started trimming mine up, and he's looking like Moses.
He shaved it.
I know. I tried to get him to keep it. You know, I told him that on Twitter. It could be his Samson power. You know,
yeah, it could be.
I would have kept that sucker till I lost personally.
Which hopefully never happens. So.
Hopefully not. I mean, I hope none of the teams in your league are listening, but hopefully you guys. So let's talk a little bit about this new movement that you guys have going on. I'm going to let you guys kind of explain that, and whatever you want to say about it as an intro, let's hear it.
All right. So we started this movement last Thursday, and we just thought it was about time for females and female athletes to get some respect. And what started it was there was a tweet, and it was just very degrading towards a couple high school teams. And I stepped in. I was like, hey, you've never seen these high school teams play. Like, you don't know what they're about. I was like, they're probably more hardworking than you have been in your entire life. And so that's what really got us fired up about it. And so we sat down and we talked, and we were like, we both had the same motives, and we want females to be able to have a voice and to be respected just like males. And that's kind of what got us going, got us fired up to start this movement.
Yeah, and then as we sat down and we talked, and we were like, we decided that we want to push for athletes, but we also want it to be in the real world. You know, like if little girls want to be the president, you know, like they can definitely achieve that as long as they work hard and they're determined, and anything is possible. And we want to make sure that there's always a support system for them, because growing up, I don't think and especially in the sports world, there's not enough female role models for young girls. And so it's just, we decided that it's time for a change, and we're going to change that narrative.
Well, I am definitely in full support of you guys. Obviously, my life's work is kind of helping empower young ladies and help them with opportunities. And you both probably know I got an 11-year-old niece that means the world to me, and I want her to feel like she can do whatever she wants. I did see the tweet. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I've been on the court with some really good girls basketball players, and I'm not just talking practice. Like, I used to play at the YMCA with Markea Turner, who was from McKinley and Hoover, and she went Xavier, and she was smoking dudes.
Yeah.
Dudes that were pretty good, you know, and it's funny to me because if I'm gonna go ahead and go on a limb and say that Emma Shoemate would probably destroy that dude, whoever he was. I guarantee you he wouldn't play her one-on-one in front of anybody. So, yeah, I did see it was kind of crazy, and I just kind of get used to social media anymore. Is just, and me and Cassie talked about that earlier in the show. It's just, man, it can go either direction anymore. What are some of your plans moving forward? I know it's really early in the process, and have you guys discussed where you may go with some of this stuff, or is it still kind of wide open?
A little bit of both. It is a lot like a really broad topic right now, and we've talked about, different ways we can go with it. But as of right now, we want to keep it broad just because we have so many different opportunities with it. But we did talk about, for February 3rd, it's National Female Athlete Day. So we definitely want to do something then, whether it be a Zoom or get out on our campus. And then, of course, COVID's kind of restricting us. We wanted to get out and maybe talk to high schools and different AAU organizations and just like let females know that they have a voice. And just because someone might think that you can't do that and you can't do that, that's why we started it. We want them to know, like, you can do anything. So we talked about Zooms and getting out on campus. Obviously, with basketball season, we're not allowed to leave campus, so that's kind of restricted us. But, yeah.
Well, I've always thought, and I've said this a couple times on Twitter, and I'm kind of I go by the philosophy of you say something to the whole world, you mean it. And I've said this a couple times that you, Mackenzie, you've always come off to me as a well-spoken young lady and kind of powerful in how you speak and what you speak about. So I know that you're going to definitely be very good at what you're doing. And of course, if Abby's with you, she knows what you're like, and she probably shares a lot of the same characteristics. So what has the reaction been so far? I mean, I know there's, you got some followers and people have been giving you some shout outs, but are there other girls that are saying, hey, I want to be part of this, or what can I do? Or, how's that going?
Yeah, we've had a lot of really positive feedback from a lot of different people. Like, we've had coaches reach out to us and like, hey, like, we want to get our team involved, like, whenever you guys like get back on your feet and actually figure out what we want to do, like, let them know because they want to be a part of it. And like, we also had a couple of like small businesses reach out and was like, if you guys want to make a brand, like, feel free to reach out. So like, it's just really cool to see how much support like just one post brought us.
Mm-hmm.
And along with that, we have a really good backing here at Bethany too. Our coach, he's great. He's all about it. Megan, we sat down and talked to Megan for about 2 hours today, just about bouncing ideas off the wall. JT's really great. Steve's really great. Erica's really great. And so they're helping us kind of get on our feet, but they're also letting us take that initiative. And I think that's great because we always need someone to bounce ideas off of.
If you ever get T-shirts made, make sure I'm on the front of the list because I would gladly support you guys. For you to like, what is women empowerment mean? Like, what is it? Because certainly you want everybody to think that they can do whatever they put their mind to, whether they're a male or female. But what exactly do you want little girls or even girls your own age, or you might even inspire some girls that are older than you? What do you want that impression to be sent across as?
For me, it's just like, I know like for a while, like with my story and like where I come from, like it's hard to have confidence, like walking into a gym with a bunch of guys, like that can be intimidating, and I think I just want little girls to always feel confident and know that they can get it done, even if there's a male in the room, and like they could show that male like that they're better than them, and it's okay. And like, it should be that way. It's okay to be competitive and be strong.
Yeah, we kind of want our whole hashtag change the narrative is, I feel like females get this like image about them. And if you don't do it this way, if, you you're too outspoken, or you're too outspoken in the office or in the gym, you're kind of like, whoa, you have to take a step back. And that's kind of why we want to change that narrative and let them know, like, they can have a voice if they want to have a voice. It's not like just because you're in the office and it's a male dominant base, like, you can still speak up and have your own voice. And I think that's one thing that we've kind of always come back to, is giving females the voice. And kind of what in high school and growing up, we didn't really think we had that voice. And so for definitely the upcoming generation, and we want to make sure that they know, like, if they want to speak up, they can speak up. If they want to wear sweats to school, they can wear sweats to school. It's about being your own person.
Mm-hmm. I see Cassie still listening, and she's shaking her head a little bit. Cassie, I'm gonna get you back on here in a minute, so don't leave. I want to ask you guys, and this is a question from my perspective, and it may be a unpopular opinion of sorts, and I really don't care. You know, I'm not unfamiliar with controversy, but when you guys look at, I'm just going to go straight to one example, the Sarah Fuller example, when she kicked for Vanderbilt. Do you think that it's a huge positive? Or in my mind, I kind of feel like, why do women have to perform on a men's platform before they get any kind of recognition?
Exactly. That's kind of like what we talked about earlier with Megan. We don't want, I know there's been other like sayings like the whole female athlete and cross the female out of it and just be athletes. We want them to know what it means to be a female athlete. Like, we shouldn't have to go compete with boys to get the respect we deserve. You know, girls are just as competitive, D1, D2, D3, high school, middle school. They can be just as competitive and not have to be compared to boys.
I mean, that's how I'm glad you didn't take offense to I honestly feel that way. And I didn't say anything about Sarah Fuller on social media because I just thought it was so skewed. You know, I don't feel like women have to perform against men to get recognition. Why couldn't Sarah Fuller be praised for the great goalkeeper she was at Vanderbilt on a great women's soccer team? You know, and, you know, I guess I would feel differently if they actually recruited her out of high school. Like, if they were recruiting her and she actually achieved that on a, you know, but to me, I kind of feel like they were using her because she was last resort. And I know people are probably going to be mad at me, but I don't, you know, that's how I view it. And I think she should have been praised for the great job she did as a goalkeeper on the women's soccer team.
Yes.
And I think you guys should be recognized for the great job you do at Bethany or when you were in high school. You shouldn't have to, you know, join a boys team to be, you know, be held up on this pedestal. But here's another question I want to ask before we get Cassie on here, because I think I would love to hear what she would like to tell you guys, because she's a lot like you guys. You don't know her maybe, but she is. Our president just signed an executive order that allows transgenders to men play in women's sports. Do you think that is going to affect, you know, is it going to step on toes, or, you know, how I kind of feel like maybe it's hard to keep the female movement going with something like that? Do you guys think it's going to affect it, or maybe you don't even want to comment? I don't know.
A little bit of both. We're trying to keep this not political, but to comment on it, we're just going to keep doing us and keep being positive and spreading awareness to females, and not even just female athletes, females in the classroom, females that give speeches, females that want to be president, want to be, you know, a vet. We just want to keep our message simple and keep empowering women. And if it comes along that, you know, we have to make a statement about that, we will. But as of right now, I mean, it's not affecting us, and we're just going to keep spreading positivity.
And like right now, like we said, like we already made a couple posts about it, and like we just don't want this to be political in any way at all. Like it's just positive vibes the whole way through.
I personally wish nothing was ever political because I think it's like the biggest poison in our society, to be honest with you. But we got Cassie back. Cassie, it's been a long time no talk. I know, right? I see you in the background here shaking your head in agreement with some of the stuff that these young ladies are saying. What are you hearing that you love? What do you want to tell these girls?
No, I think the movement is great, and to comment because I, as a coach, I saw what was tweeted by, I think it was a high-end sports thing about when Becky Hammon took over on the Spurs, and they said that she directed the team. She didn't coach the team; she directed the team, and that just, like you said, kind of got me fired up because as a female coach, I'm like, I coach basketball. I don't direct teams or anything like that. I don't care if it's a male team or a female team. I'm a coach. I'm a basketball coach. And so, you don't see a lot of those terms with the male coaches of they direct teams. They coach teams. So I think that the fact that you're taking this movement and you're really using your voices to, like you said, empower young women. That's the key right there. Because as a coach myself, when I've worked in the high school, AAU, and now college, it's about building that leadership within our young women to where they feel confident, and when they graduate, they can go on and do whatever they want to do. They don't have to second guess themselves. You can't be too loud because you're going to be thought like this. You can't be too, enthusiastic, or someone's going to think something differently of you or anything like that. I told Rich, I was like a Kim Mulkey floor slapper, and I know I had gotten comments about like, well, you need to tone it down a little bit. I'm like, this is who I am. If you're not going to tell a male to do that, then don't tell me to do that. But no, I think your guys' movement, your message is great, and it needs to be even more. So, I'm happy to see where this takes off. I just followed you guys on Twitter anyway because I was liking everything you guys were saying. I'm like, yes, this is what we need more of. So, props to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Cassie is a great leader for what you guys are. I mean, a leader by example of what you guys are trying to do, because she's definitely she has trying to kind of blazed her own trail. She's enthusiastic about it. She is in my mind, somebody that all young ladies in high school and college players can look up to, and especially if you want to be a coach in the future. She definitely is very generous with her knowledge and whatnot. So I think it was kind of cool that we had you guys both on today, and the fact that Cassie stayed on and listened is pretty cool too. I think you guys definitely said you're the first interview we ever did from a dorm room, so you're definitely breaking barriers there too. We're gonna get rid of you, Cassie. Thanks for stopping back in, and thanks for giving these girls some words of advice.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Where can everybody kind of find out what you guys are up to on social media, and whether it's your accounts or the movement, or wherever you want people to follow? Let it out.
So we have Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and all the @s are the same. It's change4 females.
All righty, everybody, give them a follow and kind of keep an eye on what they got going on. And you guys know that if there's anything I can do for you, I'm a big fan of you two and what you're trying to do. Just keep it up, and we'll see where it goes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night. Tell Brian I said thanks for shaving that beard, because I'm winning again.
We will.
All right, see you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
And we are now, we're not moving very far up the road here. From Bethany's not very far from Rob Metzger's coverage area. How are you doing, Rob?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you good.
Clearly, you answered my question.
That's good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not too far from Bethany right now. So.
No, well, I know you're a really busy dude, and you're always at a game, or whether it's boys, girls, or even wrestling. You don't cover just one sport; you cover it all. So, again, thanks for your time, and we're going to talk about some girls hoops.
Right. Absolutely.
First, let's go. I want to hear about a couple games that you've been to this year that really, ones that you're going to remember all year that, for whatever reason they stuck out to you, and let's hear about a couple of those.
Yeah, honestly, well, it's a game I follow. We covered it, but I was, following it thankfully with these live streams. We just had that Buckeye 8 championship with Union Local and Indian Creek, and it was a tight back and forth game. There's a lot of anticipation for that, but you saw Union Local at the Classic in the Country. They pulled away in that game, and man, they were really impressive there down the stretch. And they just have they've been a really fun team to watch this year, as has Indian Creek this year. So that's one thing that sticks out to me. I'm still waiting on some even other great moments this year, but one thing that did stick out, just because it was interesting, was with Indian Creek, they got 5, talented seniors. Kylie Kiger, Taylor Jones have both hit the 1,000-point mark this year, but there was a chance they were both going to hit it in the same game this year. Taylor hit it, and Kylie only needed a few more. Wasn't able to get it in that game, but got it the next game. But it was a lot of anticipation to see if they could both get it in the same game, so that was a lot of fun to kind of see. And
I've never seen that before, so that would have been pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I was waiting around. Like, I stayed at the game. I was waiting. We were all kind of counting in our heads, how many she needed. So, unfortunately, she didn't get it, but she got it the next game at East Liverpool. So, both Kylie and Taylor both in the 1,000-point club now. So, that was a lot of fun to kind of follow there. And like I said, with the tournaments coming up, I'm hoping we got some more fun moments, coming up this season now.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's move on to some teams from down the area, and I want to talk about Union Local first. You already touched on them.
Right.
I think that they are an excellent team. I thought they were an excellent team last year, and all those young kids are a little older, a little bit more experienced. What do you think is going to take for that team to make a deep run this year?
Well, I just think as you saw them play Waynedale in the Classic in the Country. They are, the 5 girls they play a lot, and they play well, and they're pretty balanced. Obviously, Reagan leads the way. I mean, she's averaging a double now, 23 and 12, and Tori Kildow, another sophomore, she's averaging 18 and 7. Obviously they got to get theirs, but also I think if teams would shut them down, they'll need other girls to step up. Casey Kildow is the only senior on that team. She had 19 last night against Monroe Central to lead them. At some point they'll need Kiera Gregor. You saw her, Hannah Merritt, very talented. Some of these other girls will sometimes have to carry that load, but because I'm sure these other teams down the road are going to try to take away Tori and Reagan, but yeah, they're really good, and they're still so young, which is it's kind of fun to think how talented and good they're going to be here down the road here for Coach Barr. And that district is just ridiculous. I mean, as good as they are, you think you got Fort Fry and Highland hanging there too. So
yeah, and
it's going to be the battle.
Tusky Valley is never a team.
Tusky Valley right there too. Saw them last year. They knocked out UL last year. So that district's crazy.
I've talked to Coach Barr a little bit, mostly on the phone, and just kind of get to know him and his program a little bit. And I think the biggest thing for them is I wish they would have found a way to get on the floor with Highland, and it may happen this year. Whether it was preseason or schedule a game with them, or I know I'm going to sound a little crazy, but I recommended that they bracketed themselves on Highland's side last year because I knew they weren't getting past Highland, and I thought a big part of that team progressing was to get on the floor with the Hawks and experience that as early as possible. It may happen this year. It probably will happen if all goes well for both teams in the regional, since there's 2 teams that come out down there. So
That is a game that I will definitely be at.
What's that?
That is definitely a game. If we get a Highland Union local game, it is definitely one that I plan on being at.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, like you said about getting on the floor at Highland, I mean, you can't replicate what you're going to see with them until you are on the floor with them. So that's that's probably the biggest challenge. And you're totally right.
And I mean, they're clearly not going to beat them this year, and I have a lot of confidence in that. But even next year, I mean, Highland is graduating their top 5, but they got 4 or 5 kids on the bench that are very, very good, and it's still going to be a battle next year. They got a post player from Akron, so I mean, they're going to be solid still. So I would really love to see him get on the field a little earlier than it may not even happen this year. But if it does, I feel like they can kind of close that gap sooner.
Yeah.
So we got Union Local. We talked about Indian Valley. Give us a couple of teams from the area that are teams that have a chance to make some deep runs.
Yeah, I mean, if I think you said to talk about a couple teams that make a run. My phone might not be the greatest; it's breaking up a little bit, but
yeah.
Shady Side, obviously, remember they went to state a couple years ago. Bailey Wash and Tori Hendershot were both sophomores at the time. They're seniors now. They're in Division 4. They've only lost, I believe, 3 games. 2 of them were to UL, and 1 was Indian Creek. So, they've obviously tried to test themselves with some of those matchups, and they just won last night by 20. Got off to a slow start to beat Belair by 20 points, and Bailey had 18 in that game. That's a couple of 1,000-point scores for Shady Side. They've been a lot of fun to watch, over the past few years. So, I'd like to see, how things develop there in Division 4 in the East District this year, especially when you look at, 4 Tribe in 3, I believe, and and obviously Highland in 3 this year too. So, Shady Side, I'd like to see what's ahead for them in the tournament. Indian Creek, I mentioned them. They're in the Buckeye 8 championship with Union Local. Second straight year they lost to them in that Buckeye 8 championship, but they have 5 very good seniors, and I mentioned Kylie Tiger, Taylor Jones. Jones is averaging 18 a game, Tiger 15 a game, and Mackenzie Taylor, Haley Clark, also in your double figures, and Abby Copeland, real good defender for them. And they've gone out this year and tried to test themselves. I know they played West Holmes a week or so ago, beat West Holmes. Ended up, they traveled again to Dover, then a couple days later beat Dover. So they have high hopes for what they can do this year. They got upset last year, or not, knocked off at home in the sectional. I think it was a Riverview. I was at that game at the buzzer. So they're hungry to win some games here in the tournament. So those 2 really stick out. Outside of Union Local. Mark Ferry's got a young team. They're getting better. They won 5 in a row. They won again tonight. And Harrison Central's won 6 in a row. They got a talented 6'1" junior, Michaela Dunkel. She's really had a nice year. She had 25 points tonight to beat Liverpool, which she's averaging a double-double, 16 and 11. So, there's I'm looking forward to seeing how things develop here, in the tournament.
Last thing before we go, couple kids that you have not mentioned already. We got the Union Local kids, we got the Indian Creek kids, and Shady Side, and a couple other kids you mentioned. Are there any other kids in the area that we should know about around Ohio?
Yeah, I think I mentioned Michaela Dunkel from Harrison. She's 6'1". I've seen her in person a couple times. She's averaging 16 and 11. She scored 25 tonight, and Harrison's won 6 in a row, and she's a very talented player, for Harrison Central. I got a chance to see Katie Zada, a very good guard for Steubenville Central last night. She scored 27. She's had a nice junior year for the Crusaders, and Martins Ferry. I just saw them last night, so they stick out on my mind. But they got a freshman, Daniel Ludi, who's put together a nice freshman year. Lara Jones is very tough to stop down low for them. They played Steubenville last night and beat Steubenville. And Steubenville's got Michaela Abrams, who's back off her knee surgery, and she's playing well. And she's a senior. And so they, there's some good talent around here, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they compete as we head to the tournament, head away from the river a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it's always maybe not always, but usually it's a little bit of an eye opener once the further they get away from the river. But I definitely look forward to seeing some of those teams, and
that's why it's good to get out. That's why it's good for them to get out. Like you mentioned, you local, beefing up the schedule, and Indian Creek trying to do the same. And it's good to see those teams and see what they have to offer, and try to test yourself before the tournament.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of respect for Steve F. He's been beefing up that schedule long before now. Like when those kids were sophomores, he was trying to get them out of the area and play a little bit more. And hopefully, I'd love to see that pay off for him because he's a great dude, and those kids will have worked hard, and they've been full-year starters down there. So we'll see how that goes. But definitely a team I want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it should be fun to see. It's fun to see how it comes together here during the tournament. So it should be a good time.
All right, Rob. Well, I appreciate your time. Next time we get you up, we'll get you on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's right. I feel bad it's breaking up. I'll have to get on that. We'll do it again sometime, and hopefully it'll sound a little better for you, look a little better. So.
Oh, it got the job done. Don't worry. So I appreciate your time. I know you had a game tonight, so you're probably wasting your
back to editing the video, right?
All right, Rob. We'll talk to you later, and keep up the great work, man.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
All righty, that wraps up another great show. Thanks to everybody who is watching. Everybody's going to watch. We'll be back next Tuesday. I don't know if John Bozico will be back. We'll get somebody in here so I don't have to talk to myself all the time. But again, thanks for listening, and be kind to people. Do something good for somebody else, and please don't be fake. See you next week.